Barbershop conversation guy. Thank you, Lincoln. Feel free, hit the subscribe button. And I want to talk about something. It's really, really important. And I want you guys to retweet this and share this. And more important, go read this article. And I'm not protecting anyone in this article. I'm talking about the integrity as a journalist as it relates to this topic and the comfortability. Now, one, obviously, you got to respect the man for taking opinion against the abuse of women, right? But I want to talk about an article that I saw on BoxingScene, which raised my eyebrows and um, made me fully understand that we live in America. And I've never met the man. I've seen him at fights all the time. I've only been in group interviews with him. Don't know him personally, so I can't say that. But what I will say is this is just journalism irresponsibility 101. And before I do this article, because I got to clear out the haters, right? Uh, I'm I'm well educated, and I'm only saying this because I already know they're going to say, "Well, you know nothing about journalism." College educated, postgraduate degrees, Emmy-nominated film producer, won double-digit film festival award winners, award-winning educator, um, and have written hundreds and still continue to write articles. Right. So why I say this is because Keith Idec has an article on Boxing Scene that says violence against women becomes boxing complicated problem by Keith Idec. And why this is a problem? Because one, the article is about Sergey Kovelav, but Adrian Broner is in the main picture. And part two to that is, why is he doing this article this week on Adrian Broner, Marcus Brown, and he rehashes Floyd Mayweather's um, problems? He could have wrote this article the night before the fight. He could have wrote this article January 18th, so everyone would have read it January 19th, leading into the fight, right? And in my humble opinion, the reason why he didn't do it that day is because he didn't want to get the repercussions of on a Mayweather promoted event. And this article be it would have got to where it needed to be. Boxing Scene and Keith Idec is one of the lead writers, I believe, and I see his name quite often. And it would have got to the people. Now, part two to that is, in my humble opinion, if I would have wrote this article, I'm being real and I'm being real G with you. The article started off with Kovalev because he's in Frisco, Texas, right? Now, if you wanted to bring up the football players, Ray Rice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you should have made this article a a melting pot of American sports. Every person mentioned in this article outside of Sergey Kovalev is black. The caption is black. If no one reads this article and they just saw the picture, they would think this article is about Adrian Broner. But what inspired this article is Sergey Kovalev. And the lead picture needs to be a picture of Sergey Kovalev and his charges. And he did right by going directly into the subject matter. But what he didn't do is deception. And I know this to be true because I've written hundreds of articles, and you got to have a level of integrity as a writer. And I think not think, this is intentional. I've if you're writing on Boxing Scene, I would assume that you have a level of of um, of discipline. I would say you have a level of a wealth of knowledge. There's a level of experience that you might have to write on. One would assume that this is the number one article and the number one written in boxing per se. And this article simply should have been on Sergey Kovalev. The reason why this article simply should have been on Sergey Kovalev is because 2 weeks ago, all of us were in Vegas covering the fight. And if he wanted to bring up Floyd Mayweather's name, I mean, they love bringing up Floyd Mayweather's name, right? Um, because it's a polarizing name. If you mention Floyd Mayweather against battery against a woman, it makes you want to read the article. It makes it trendy. It makes it, you understand what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I can't help but look at this article as an attack on black men. You know what I mean? And the other argument might say it's attack on the women. Yeah, you're quite possibly right. Right? Look, I don't know these charges to be true for the people that haven't been convicted yet. For the people that have been convicted, yes. I mean, you do the crime, you do the time, right? But at the end of the day, it gives assault on women a color. He should have brought up white men in sports that attack their women. He mentioned HBO. I have no idea why he didn't mention Jim Lampley. You understand? I have no idea why he didn't mention the white kicker in the NFL. You understand? And these are just a few examples. I'm not defending men who hit women. That's what I'm not doing. But what I am protecting is the image of America the image of black men that we portray to the rest of the world. I think Keith Idec was irresponsible. I think Keith Idec needs to take down this article, rewrite this article, and have some level of courage, have some level of decency. This article should have been, if you want to write this article about Marcus Brown, if you want to write this article about Adrian Broner, write the article January 17th so you can interview them and talk about it and present this to them. There were no quotes by Marcus Brown in this article. There was no quotes by Adrian Broner in this article. You understand where I'm coming from? So at the end of the day, man, we got to hold each other to the fire the same way people attempt to hold me to the fire. You understand what I'm saying? And I would assume that he probably watched my video because every name in this article I have written about. You understand? And he might have been counteracting my video that I did a couple of days ago. Now, I just think it's irresponsible, man, and I don't like it at all. And I think it needs. I think the freedom of press is a beautiful thing. Am I saying this article is wrong? No, but there's a level of integrity that you must have as a journalist. No way this article should have been written about Adrian Broner. I'm reiterating it because this is so important because it was a Mayweather promoted event and he didn't have the courage to release this article about Marcus Brown. He's looking at him every day for 2 or 3 days. I don't know when he arrived, but let's just say the weigh-in and the fight. He's looking at these men every day, Friday and Saturday. He's looking at these two men. Why didn't he interview them? You know, print, and video media have their own separate time with the fighters, and print typically goes first, you know, and he had some time. I'm pretty sure he had a round table with their promoters. All the promoters was real accessible. You guys can go back and look at my videos. I interviewed Leonard Ellaby 15 times if I could have, but I mean, he was always in the press room promoting the fight because they had Radio Row. Adrian Broner did Radio Row, so he was accessible. BoxingScene is a very polarizing and a leading media outlet as it relates to boxing. So I'm pretty sure he could have made a phone call and gotten a quote. But it's just a level of integrity you got to have, and there's a level of fear of a black man. And I'm going above the topic at hand because why didn't he? Floyd Mayweather was at the fight. This article was better served written January 18th. You had Leonard Ellaby, you had Adrian Broner, you had Leonard Ellaby being the CEO of Mayweather Promotions. You had Marcus Brown, who we written up in this article. You have Adrian Broner, and you have Floyd Mayweather. He didn't want to confront them. He figured, and in my humble opinion, he was dying to write this article the week of that fight, but didn't have the courage to deliver it to him personally. And what I mean by deliver it to them personally, I mean he didn't want to get the backlash from actually covering the fight and this article coming out the day of or the day before the fight. In my humble opinion, I've written articles and I understand. I understand how to and I'm not excusing myself from. I'm not saying I'm the perfect journalist, but what I will not do is redirect the audience. Just spill the truth. You understand? And I think I'm going to send this. I'm actually going to send this article out to them and make sure that they get it, because I think there's a level of irresponsibility. There's a level of irresponsibility of this article, and you understand what I'm saying. And I think that I'm trying to say this without befriending the guilty. You understand what I'm saying? And keeping a level of fairness about it. Because people are going to say, oh, you're defending women. I'm not defending women. I'm talking about journalistic integrity. And he failed. This is a terrible fail. He needs to change that picture to Sergey Kovelav. And if you hear this, I need you guys to put in the comment section, why is Adrian Broner the face of this article? If you wanted Adrian Broner the face of this article, again, I will reiterate, this article should have been written January 18th, but he couldn't handle writing this article January 18th and getting the backlash from Adrian Broner and or Mayweather Promotions, and or because he knows it would have infringed upon the pay-per-views, and they would have, I don't know what would have happened. They would have disagreed or something like that. Maybe he wouldn't have had access to the fighter. I don't know. I'm just saying this. If you're going to talk about a man, say it to their face and live with the results. Every question that I ask in person. You understand? And I think there's a level of integrity that we must have as journalists. You know, he didn't mention not one other white person that has committed the same crime. How can you mention HBO without mentioning Jim Lampley? It makes no sense. He's the face and the voice of HBO boxing. Anyways, man, barbershop conversations, man. Feel free, hit the subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.